The sun poured through my apartment window, glinting off the polished glass of my desk, catching the edge of my gold watch. I smoothed down my cream silk blouse and took a deep breath, savoring the faint scent of lavender from my diffuser. The email notification popped up on my phone, and I hesitated before opening it, a subject line that made my stomach twist. Dad's 60th birthday gala. RSVP required. I hadn't been invited. Or rather, I had been explicitly banned for not bringing a gift. My father had always had a way of twisting things, making me feel small with just a few words. Even now, years later, a pang of that old hurt flared in my chest. I sipped my coffee, its warmth a comforting anchor. I could feel the irony curling in my mind. Here I was, Madison Blake, running my own boutique marketing agency, managing 6 clients, and presenting at conferences, yet my father still measured my worth by the contents of a gift bag. I stared out at the city skyline, watching sunlight bounce off the towers. He had no idea what I had accomplished, what I had built. And suddenly, an idea, a memory, a quiet smirk rising on my lips. Maybe it was time he learned. I remember that night like it was etched in my skin. I was 23, standing in our grand living room, the scent of polished oak and my mother's floral perfume lingering in the air. Dad's friends were scattered around, glasses clinking, laughter filling the space, all of it amplifying the lump forming in my throat. "I didn't bring a gift," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "You didn't bring a gift?" Dad's tone was sharper than the crystal chandeliers above us. "Madison, how could you come empty-handed to my party? After everything I'd done for you?" I felt my hands tremble. I had saved and saved to send him something thoughtful, something personal, but the mail had lost it. I tried to explain, but his cold stare didn't soften. "Enough excuses. You're banned from tonight. You clearly don't respect me or this family," he snapped. I wanted to shrink, to disappear, but I straightened my back, gripping the small locket in my hand, the one Grandma had given me years ago. She had whispered, "Never let anyone measure your value, Maddie. Your worth isn't in what they expect, it's in what you give yourself." The sting in my chest was sharp, but with that locket in my palm, I made a choice. I would leave the party. I would leave the old rules. And I would build my own life, a life he couldn't control. I turned on my heel, the heels of my shoes clicking against the hardwood, and walked out of that house, out of his judgment, carrying only my determination and a tiny piece of wisdom tucked against my heart. That night, the door closing behind me wasn't the end. It was the beginning. After that night, I threw myself into building a life that was completely my own. I moved into a small loft downtown, its exposed brick walls and sunlight-filled windows feeling like freedom after the suffocating expectations of home. I still carried Grandma's locket around my neck, a quiet reminder that my worth wasn't dictated by anyone else. I met Elena, a seasoned marketing executive, at a networking event. She saw potential in me that even I had doubted. "Madison," she said, "you've got ideas, creativity, and grit. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Let's make it work." Her confidence in me lit a fire I didn't know I had. The early days were brutal. Late nights hunched over spreadsheets, countless pitches rejected, and moments when self-doubt crept in like a shadow. I remember nights staring at my reflection in the window, asking myself if I could really do this, if I could become someone my father couldn't dismiss with a single word. Slowly, my small victories began to stack. My first big client, a boutique brand, trusted me to run their campaign. I stayed up all night perfecting every detail, and when the first sales report came in showing a 20% increase, I cried silently at my desk. The next win came in the form of a partnership, a deal I had quietly negotiated, showcasing that my ideas had value beyond my family's recognition. I kept it all quiet. Social media showed only snapshots, a modest coffee mug, a stack of folders, the occasional view of my workspace. No one back home would know. I avoided posts about my promotions, my growing client list, or the small office I had managed to rent downtown. The freedom of hiding my success gave me a secret joy that was entirely mine, a private rebellion against the father who measured love and respect in gift-wrapped packages. By the time I was 27, I had built Madison Blake marketing into a boutique powerhouse. My team was small but fierce, my clients loyal, and my confidence solidified. I owned my achievements, and with each milestone, I felt the quiet thrill of being untouchable by the old rules that had once tried to define me. The invitation, or rather, the email reminding me that I was not invited, lingered in my inbox. But this time, I decided I wouldn't be silent. I RSVP'd, not as the daughter who had once been banned, but as Madison Blake, CEO and owner of her own successful marketing agency. When I arrived at Dad's mansion, the familiar scent of polished wood and floral perfume hit me instantly. His friends mingled, glasses of champagne in hand, oblivious to the storm I carried behind my calm smile. I was dressed simply, a tailored navy dress, understated jewelry, but every inch of me radiated confidence. Madison. My father's voice wavered as he noticed me standing in the foyer. For a second, I could see disbelief, confusion, and something like guilt flicker across his face. I walked past him slowly, letting my heels click against the marble floor, giving him time to take in the reality. My eyes swept the room, noting the expensive artwork I could now afford for myself, the rare books lining my private office shelves, the awards discreetly displayed. This was my world now, and he had no place in it until I allowed it. I guess I should explain. I began, my voice steady, soft but firm. I was banned from your party years ago. No gift, Dad, remember? But the gift you wanted. I returned it. He frowned, unsure what I meant. I smiled faintly, holding up the small locket that had been my anchor for years. The gift was never a box or a ribbon. It was me, my life. The one you thought you controlled, the one you thought you could diminish with your rules. I made it my own. Gasps rippled through the room. My father's friends shifted uncomfortably. I stepped into the light, letting them see every detail of my success, the subtle elegance of my watch, the understated confidence in my posture, the air of someone who had thrived despite being underestimated. I run Madison Blake Marketing. We manage campaigns for clients worldwide. Our annual revenue exceeds 7 figures. And yes, I did all of this without your approval, your guidance, or your presence. The room went silent. Dad's face went pale, a flush of shame creeping over his cheeks. I could almost see him piecing together every moment of dismissiveness, every harsh word, and realizing that each had fueled the very success he now faced. You did all this, he whispered, disbelief lacing every syllable. I nodded. And I did it on my terms. So now, the question isn't whether I'm welcome here. The question is whether you're willing to meet me as the daughter I've become, not the one you tried to punish. Every head in the room turned toward him. I let the silence linger, savoring the truth finally unfolding. It wasn't revenge. It was revelation. And it was mine. I let the silence stretch a moment longer, feeling the weight of years of dismissal finally balancing in my favor. My father's mouth opened, closed, and opened again, searching for words, but I held the room with calm authority. Let me be clear, I said, my voice steady but warm. I can welcome you into my life now on my terms. This isn't about grudges or revenge. It's about respect, accountability, and growth. Dad swallowed hard. I could see the familiar stubbornness flicker, but it didn't shake me. I took a breath and began laying out the conditions. First, honesty. No more dismissing people or measuring worth with material things. That applies to everyone here. I glanced at his friends, their expressions a mix of shame and realization. Second, effort. If you want a place in my world, you must be willing to engage, to listen, to support, not to judge or demand. Your old habits won't be tolerated. And third, I continued, holding up my locket, remember why I stand here. Respect the paths people carve for themselves, even when they differ from the ones you envisioned. Your love can't be conditional on perfection. My father's hands clenched at his sides. He nodded slowly, a silent acknowledgement that he understood, finally. It wasn't the easiest road for him, but it was the only one that could lead to change. I softened my tone slightly. I care about you, Dad. I always have. But if you want to be part of my life, it must be in a way that uplifts, not diminishes. I will help where I can, but only if you commit to growth, reflection, and genuine respect. The room felt lighter somehow, the tension dissipating as the truth sank in. This wasn't punishment. It was opportunity for him, for them, for me. And for the first time in years, I felt the old power dynamics shift entirely. The daughter who had once been banned now held the reins, gently but firmly guiding the way forward. Weeks passed, and subtle changes began to unfold. Dad started listening more than he spoke, asking questions about my work instead of criticizing, even attending a client event at my request, not to oversee but to support. His friends softened too, apologizing for past comments, showing curiosity and respect rather than judgment. I spent quiet mornings in my loft, holding Grandma's locket, remembering her words. Your worth isn't in what they expect, it's in what you give yourself. That tiny piece of metal had carried me through rejection, doubt, and loneliness. Now, it shone like a quiet medal of triumph, a reminder that resilience and self-respect always outlasted the hurt inflicted by others. I looked out at the skyline, sipping my coffee, noticing the chipped nail polish on my thumb, a small imperfection in a life that had become anything but small. I smiled. The pain I endured shaped me, yes, but it didn't define me. The woman I had become was strong, independent, and unapologetically herself. And for the first time, I realized that real power didn't come from wealth, status, or proving someone wrong. It came from setting boundaries, honoring your worth, and living fully on your own terms. I placed the locket gently on my desk, letting it catch the morning light. Then I whispered to myself, almost as a mantra, I am more than what anyone tried to take from me. I am my gift, and I always have been.